Kartik month, what we are going to do, how to fix up ourselves.
Nobody told me.
So Bal Prabhu didn't tell you. But you
Nobody.
can speak. You can speak anything, how we can fix up ourselves in Kartik. What we are going to do in Kartik.
Kartik.
What is our business? Primary business. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, bless the Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhu. Haribo. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Bharadhari Gopi Jana Balaba Giri Bharadhari Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodhanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jayaramarava Punjabihari Radha Madhava Punjabihari Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janaballabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabihari Radha Madhava Punjabihari Radha Madhava Punjabihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Nantaguru Vaishnavinda ki jai. Shri Shri Gauranitai ki jai. Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Shama Sundar ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Brihat Madanga ki jai. Gaura Premanandi, all glorious to the assembled devotees. All glorious to Sri Guru and Brand, all glorious to Sri Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namani. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini. Nevasesha Sunyavadi Pastacharya Shitani. I will probably, I think, what do you think? Should I reposition myself? There's a lot of light coming in from the back. What does everyone think?
All right, Maharaj.
Is it okay?
Yep.
Yes.
I know there's like I've got the window behind it. I guess the sun's rising over there.
Yep.
Light's quite bright, but if you want me to move, let me know.
If you are comfortable in this position, it's all right.
Well,
it's all right.
Yeah, let's see if it looks to you. Main thing is from your side. From my side doesn't matter too much. Hare Krishna. So thank you for inviting us to associate with you this morning and speak a few words. Mr. Bal probably told me a few minutes before coming on, you wanted me to speak something about Kartik month, which is, I guess, starting next week sometime. And we'll try to integrate that into whatever words we speak. And you also mentioned there by Krishnanam Prabhu about chanting the holy name. I didn't prepare anything. I tried to look this morning, but couldn't find what we were looking for various reasons. So I just opened on one verse, and I thought to read on one verse, which is not directly related to Kartik, but everything in Krishna consciousness is related, you could say. It's not that we're not like, one thing is separate from it. Everything's related to Krishna. And the activities which we perform are all under the umbrella of devotional service. So it doesn't really matter. We could talk on any subject in terms of, what is relevant, particularly in the month of Kartik. So anyway, we're going to talk on one verse from the second canto. I'll come to that in a minute. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances, everybody. Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhivya Vichapanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shvayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Shrapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamniti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivasesha Sindhavadi Pastachade Shatani. Hare Krishna. So the verse, yeah, it's getting very bright now. I think. Can't do much about that. I'll move around a little bit. Give me a minute. Not much better here, is it? Because the sun is right on my face now. It's not going to work.
It's okay, Maharaj.
Well, not okay for me because the sun's in my eyes.
Okay.
I'll try that. Maybe that will be okay. Background may not be so relevant, but it's still shine. Turn off this light. Yeah. There. Is that okay?
Yes, Maharaj.
Perfect.
Much better. Good. And yesterday was, I don't know if it's possible to plug this in. You got to get an extension. It was the Philadelphia Rath Yatra, and some of you were there, of course. By Krishna's mercy, we had the weather, it was good. It wasn't too hot and it wasn't raining. And nice turnout of devotees. But I was looking at a picture this morning of 1975 Philadelphia Rath Yatra. Yesterday was 50 years, not exactly the 50th anniversary, that would have been last year, but it would be 50 years since, 2025, since 1975, since the Rath Yatra began in Philadelphia. And I was just looking at the picture because Srila Prabhupada was personally present, and the crowd was phenomenal. It looked like it was in a different location. It was like downtown Philadelphia by the looks of it. But the street was just packed, completely packed. Mostly with American people, mostly white-skinned. It's interesting, phenomenal change over the last 50 years. Plus, now we have hundreds and thousands of Rath Yatras. In those days, there weren't so many Rath Yatras. And especially when Prabhupada would come, the devotees would come from all over the country practically. So that certainly made a difference. Yeah, it was nice to reflect on that. So we're going to read a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's see what here it goes. Just give me a sec. I just basically randomly chose a verse here. It's from the second canto, chapter 1, text number 10. I don't know your format of how you go about this because I can't hear what you're doing and on the other side. So should I just read it myself? What's the normal format?
Yes, Maharaj.
Pardon?
That's fine, Maharaj. You read the verse and go ahead, continue. We don't decide because timing is short, so you can go ahead.
Okay. So this is the second canto, chapter 1, verse 10. This chapter, if you have your book or some electronic appliance, this particular chapter is called the first step. The first step in God realization. As you probably know, at the end of the first canto, Parikshit Maharaj asked very significant questions to Shukadeva Goswami. In the first canto, Shukadeva Goswami was only present at the very end in terms of his contribution to the conversations which were held. Otherwise, up to that point, it was Sukha Goswami, basically with the sages of Naimishranya, and Sukadeva Goswami had not appeared on the scene. And he appeared right at the end of the subject matter of the first canto, when Parikshit Maharaj, after being cursed to die within 7 days by the snake bite, he decided to spend those last 7 days, more or less, in totally absorbing himself in Krishna Katha, in the association of devotees. So he went to the bank of the river Ganga, and there many great sages and saintly people gathered, and he was just trying to focus on Krishna. And at that point of time, Shukadeva Goswami appeared on the scene. And of course, then Parikshit Maharaj asked him these relevant questions. And Shukadeva Goswami begins now to answer those questions. We could go back with the answers, but that would take a bit of time. And I don't have a book. If I had a book, it would be easy, but I don't. So it's not practical. So we just use one verse as an example of Shukadeva Goswami's, not advice, you could say advice also, but is very clear answer to the question of Parikshit Maharaj. This is one aspect of that answer. The whole Bhagavatam is the answer. The holy name is the answer. And this verse is Srimad Bhagavatam, glorified Srimad Bhagavatam. Kadaham te vidasyami mahapurushiko bhavan yashashadadatam ashu syan mukunde mati sati. We'll read the verse. Okay. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you, because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna, one who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation. Now I assume, let me just float back there. Yeah, you got it on the board? Yep, great, fantastic. On the screen. And the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, Srimad Bhagavatam is recognized Vedic wisdom, and the system of receiving Vedic knowledge is called Avaroha Panta, the process of receiving transcendental knowledge through a bona fide disciplic succession. For advancement of mature knowledge, there is a need for personal ability and researching aptitude. But in the case of spiritual knowledge, all progress depends more or less on the mercy of the spiritual master. The spiritual master must be satisfied with the disciple. Only then is knowledge automatically manifested before the student of spiritual science. The process should not, however, be misunderstood to be something like magical fates, whereby the spiritual master acts like a magician and injects spiritual knowledge into his disciple, as if surcharging him with an electrical current. The bona fide spiritual master reasonably explains everything to the disciple on the authority of Vedic wisdom. I need some water. And someone can bring me some water, please. I'm not asking the devotees online. It has to be someone in the house here. Just going to adjust my chair a minute. Go to the back. There you go. The disciple. The disciple can receive such teachings, not exactly intellectually, but by submissive inquiries and a service attitude. The idea is that both the spiritual master and the disciple must be bona fide. In this case, the spiritual master, Shukadeva Goswami, is ready to recite exactly what he has learned from his great father, Srila Vyasadeva, and the disciple, Maharaj Parikshit, is a great devotee of Lord Krishna. A devotee of Lord Krishna is he who believes sincerely that by becoming a devotee of the Lord, one becomes fully equipped with everything spiritual. This teaching is imparted by the Lord himself in the pages of the Bhagavad Gita, in which it is clearly described that the Lord, Sri Krishna, is everything, and that to surrender unto him solely and wholly makes one the most pious man. What's that noise? Is there any way of reducing the noise? Please keep the door closed. This unflinching faith in Lord Krishna prepares one to become a student of Srimad Bhagavatam. And one who hears Srimad Bhagavatam from a devotee like Shukadeva Goswami is sure to attain salvation at the end, as Maharaj Parikshit did. The professional reciter of Srimad Bhagavatam and the pseudo-devotees whose faith is based on 1 week's hearing are different from Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. Srila Vyasadeva explained Srimad Bhagavatam unto Sukadeva Goswami from the very beginning of the Janmadhyasya. That's the first verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, of course. The Janmadhyasya verse. And so Sukadeva Goswami also explains it to the king. Lord Krishna is described as the Mahapurush in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, in his devotional feature as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself in his devotional attitude, descended to earth to bestow special favors upon the fallen souls of this age of Kali. There are 2 verses particularly suitable to offer as prayers to this Mahapurusha feature of Lord Krishna, and they are as follows. Jayang sada paribhavagnam abhishtadoham Tetaspadam Shiva Vivinchi Nutang Sharanyam Vidyartihang Pranata Pala Bhavadmi Potang Vande Mahapurushate Charanara Chaktva Sudastyaja Sarepsita Raja Lakshming Dharmishtarya Vachasaya Dagadaranyam Mayamrigang Dayatapayapchitam Anbadavat Vande Mahapurushate Charanaravindam. Purusha means the enjoyer, and Mahapurush means the supreme enjoyer, or the supreme personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. One who deserves to approach the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is called the Mahapurushika. Anyone who hears Srimad Bhagavatam attentively from its bona fide reciter is sure to become a sincere devotee of the Lord, who is able to award liberation. There was none so attentive as Maharaj Parikshit in the matter of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, and there was none so qualified as Shukadeva Goswami to recite the text of Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, anyone who follows in the footsteps of either the ideal reciter or the ideal hearer, Shukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit respectively, will undoubtedly attain salvation like them. Maharaj Parikshit attained salvation by hearing only, and Shukadeva Goswami attained salvation only by reciting. Recitation and hearing are two processes out of 9 devotional activities. And by strenuously following these processes, either all of them or some of them, one can attain the absolute plane. So the complete text of Srimad Bhagavatam, beginning with the Janmadhyasya verse up to the last one in the 12th canto, 12, 13, 23, was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami for the attainment of salvation by Maharaj Parikshit. In the Padma Purana, it is mentioned that Gautama Muni advised Maharaj Ambarish to hear regularly Srimad Bhagavatam as it was recited by Shukadeva Goswami, and therein it is confirmed that Maharaj Ambarish heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning to the end. And it was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. I'll read that again. There's a noise in the background, it's throwing me off a little bit here. Therein it, I'll go back up a little bit. In the Padma Purana, it is mentioned that Gautama Muni advised Maharaj Ambarish to regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam as it was recited by Shukadeva Goswami. And therein it is confirmed that Maharaj Ambarish heard Srimad Bhagavatam from the very beginning to the end as it was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. It's very interesting. One who is actually interested in the Bhagavatam, therefore, must not play with it by reading or hearing a portion from here and a portion from there. One must follow in the footsteps of great kings like Maharaj Ambarish or Maharaj Parikshit and hear it from a bona fide representative of Sukadeva Goswami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we chose this verse randomly, more or less. And we made no, I hadn't even read the purple, just last minute, just selected a verse on my computer. And this was the verse. So it's very relevant. Month of Kartik, any month, it's not that we only focus on the month of Kartik. The month of Kartik, of course, we all have some awareness of its value, of its importance in calendar, Vaishnava calendar, how dear it is to Srimati Radharani. Well, it's dear to Krishna. See, they say it's the month of Radharani. This month is very, very dear to Krishna because it's the month of Radha. So we take full advantage of this month as much as we can. And Srila Prabhupada, again, I've not got any notes in front of me or anything. I just reflect on some memories of this relevance. It's an intensification, basically speaking. It's the idea of our daily activity. In fact, one time Prabhupada mentioned, and it's just one time, but he said actually Kartik is for karmis. The devotee is following Kartik Vrata every day. But still, during Srila Prabhupada's personal presence, Kartik month was not very much emphasized within ISKCON. We would sing every day the Damodarastakam. Prabhupada told us that that's what we should do. Practically speaking, aside from that, Prabhupada didn't give very many directions on Kartik, other than specific personal ones sometimes, individuals. He did give a slight generalization in Vrindavan in 1972, when one devotee, Prabhupada was in Kartik in 1972, he spent practically the whole month there. He spoke on the Nectar of Devotion, the very famous Nectar of Devotion series. Prabhupada in the morning, every morning, was speaking on Nectar of Devotion in the courtyard of the Radha Damodar temple. Krishna Bharam temple was not there at all at that time. The land had just been acquired, but the temple was not there at all. I think just a bare piece of land. So Prabhupada was staying in the Radha Damodar temple and speaking every day on the nectar of devotion. And at some point during that time, one devotee asked, was there any special vrata, or any special thing we should do during Kartik? And Prabhupada said yes. And then devotees were eagerly awaiting what Srila Prabhupada would say. And Prabhupada said, in Kartik, you should give up all eating and sleeping. You shouldn't eat, you shouldn't sleep. And you should chant constantly from morning to night the Mahamantra. Not morning to night, 24 hours. Everyone was like, ah! Said Prabhupada. And then one devotee started, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And then Prabhupada said, this is madness. You cannot do it. You can't do it. Who can do that? That's the actual vrata. But obviously we can't do that. So what do? We try to utilize our time nicely as we can. There is a verse in this chapter. If I had the book, I could actually read the verse, but it's too difficult running through the computer like this. It's a verse which says, therefore, there's a verse in the first canto and the second canto, which are very, very similar in terms of their content. In the first canto, Tasmat Kali. No, Tasmat. How's it go?
Tasmat Bhara Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Srotavya Kirtitava.
Second canto. What verse number is that? That's the second canto, isn't it?
Yes, second canto, first chapter.
And the first canto in the second chapter, Tasmat.
Yes.
I forgot now. I used to know all those verses. The second canto, what was the verse number? Is that what I said? Verse number?
7 or 8, I think.
Huh? 8?
7 or 8, I think. One minute.
Which number?
1.
2, 1? Can't remember. Maybe 2, 1. No, it's not 2, 1, 8. And we could find it if you want. Let me just quickly search. There's many verses beginning with Tasmat. Second canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Here we go.
Verse number 5, Maharaj.
Yeah, I've got it. Tasmat sarvatmana rajan hari sarvatra sarvadas vatavya ketiyam yascha smartavyo bhagavan vinam. O King, it is therefore essential that every human being hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, always and everywhere. This is a good meditation for us for Kartik months. It's for every day, every moment of our lives, you could say. It's a very important instruction of Shukadeva Goswami here to all of us. We should always hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Lord, wherever we are. Trying to remember Krishna. So during the month of Kartik, that's the whole idea. Is it? There's a whole idea every day. That's why Prabhupada said devotees should be following Kartik every day. The month of Kartik is supposed to be, people are supposed to reduce their eating and their sleeping and live very simply and just try to spend more time hearing and chanting about Krishna. You know that many people do that, especially in India. They dedicate that month for hearing Krishna Katha more and more and more. More chanting, more rounds, more kirtan, more preaching, sharing Krishna consciousness with others more than usual. Take advantage of this month to become ourselves more, you could say, focused in Krishna consciousness. Don't spend so much time on social media, only that which is required for your occupational duties, nothing more than that. And try to utilize our time to the maximum for hearing and chanting, reading Bhagavatam, as today's verse was emphasizing the importance of submissively, attentively hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And many devotees, by Sheshika Prabhu, for instance, he usually, I don't know if he's doing it this year, but pretty much every year, he goes to Govardhan, and there, together with many devotees, they read for many hours a day the Srimad Bhagavatam together. Many devotees do this. It's a great practice just to hear, chant and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam as much as you can during this month, or chant extra rounds or more kirtan or all of it, whatever you can do. Just increase our practical, but the chanting and especially the hearing. The emphasis was placed here on submissive hearing from the right source. So we're so fortunate we've got Prabhupada's books, especially the purports. To hear Prabhupada's purports is so important to hear. If we can have a look at that verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the first canto also. Just give me a second. Here, canto 1, chapter 2. Here. Probably text number 14. Tasmat ekena manasa. Tasmat ekena manasa bhagavan sattatam patihi. Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 1, text chapter 2, text 14. Tasmat ekena manasa bhagavan sattatam patihi. Shrotavya kititavyascha dhyeya pujascha nityada. But Krishna consciousness is very simple in one sense. It's because of all of our, conditioning, our various emotional coverings and so on. Sometimes it's a little difficult to apply it, difficult to apply the process, but the process is actually very simple. It's just, as Prabhupada said, one of these 9 forms of devotional service. He uses Ambarish Maharaj as a perfect example of that, which is primarily hearing and chanting are the 2 most emphasized of those 9 in general, especially today, of course, and hearing about the Bhagavatam. But it's really hearing it. And Prabhupada mentions how Parikshit Maharaj was a perfect candidate for this because he heard very attentively. And we also can hear in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in the 3rd chapter how Sutta Goswami is emphasizing how he will now repeat what he's heard from Shukadeva Goswami. Indirectly, of course, it's coming from Shukadeva through Sutta. And Sutta Goswami explains how now he's asking the sages of Naimisharanya to please hear this subject matter as he's heard it with rapt attention. It's a pretty important point, rapt attention. We may hear it to some degree, but our attention is usually divided. It's not so fixed usually. It's not that fixed attention which is required. And Prabhupada explains if we hear with rapt attention, one will see Krishna, one will experience Krishna on the pages of the Bhagavatam. It's quite simple. But the difficulty is the rapt attention. Same when we're chanting japa, same in kirtan, same with any service come to that. The rapt attention is quite difficult. Our mind is diverted for whatever reason to so many other things. And in this particular case, Prabhupada explains that unless one's mind is pure, one cannot hear with rapt attention. And unless one is pure and one's eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and various activities, then the mind cannot be pure. So that's why there are rules and regulations, other forms of limbs of devotional service like daily worship and so on, to help us to become more purified in our hearts, in our consciousness, so we can hear Srimad Bhagavatam with rapt attention. It's 60 years ago, just over, when Srila Prabhupada wrote his Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma. And I could read Subal Prabhu. When you go upstairs, on my desk, a table upstairs, there's a copy of the songbook. It's where my Sankirtan books are, on that kind of cabinet there. Bring it as quick as you can. I haven't got any books in front of me, and I can't keep flipping around on the computer looking for references. It's too time-consuming and tiring. So, Prabhupada was, when he first arrived in America in 1965, 60 years ago in September, we've all been honoring that the last week or two, of course. The 60th anniversary, quite something. I was talking yesterday to Anutama Prabhu at the Rath Yatra, and he was talking about Prabhupada's arrival in Boston, which just took place, and he was there. Thank you, Prabhu. The 60th anniversary, and some of you may have been there in Boston a few weeks ago, and he was there, and he said he felt like he was like some kind of display, felt like he was on display, and they sat all the old Prabhupada disciples in a line or something. And he felt like he was a display unit, It was kind of like funny, sat there. Like, I don't know how many Prabhupada disciples, but all lined up. Here they are. They're all like 80 years old. It's kind of time flying by. So we shouldn't waste our time. We have very little time in our lives. We shouldn't waste it. That's one of the keys. Don't waste your time, especially in karate. Try to practice not wasting your time. Use every moment you spare for hearing and chanting about Krishna. So I'll just read it. Well, let's finish that verse from the first canto first, because we didn't finish it. We read the Sanskrit. So Sutta Goswami says, therefore, with one-pointed attention, they have one-pointed attention. That's the Vyavasiyatmika Buddhya, aka Purananda Bahushaka, without any deviation, with one-pointed attention. Here, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. This one-pointed attention is the means of Chindantikovadastasya Konakuri Katha, of cutting that knot of material karma granta, the knot of material bondage, hearing with attention. So the whole movement of Prabhupada's mission, right, basically is focused around that, so that we can come to this point. Because ultimately it's about pleasing Krishna. But in terms of this subject, it's so that we can hear with one-pointed attention. We can hear the holy name. Focus on the holy name. I guess many of us have this experience where we don't focus. One was asking me a funny question yesterday. I know it's a Rath Yatra, maybe not the Rath Yatra, actually, I can't remember. Maybe it was, anyway, someone's asking me. And they were saying, is it okay to read the book at the same time that I chant japa? Kind of a strange, these things go on. I do it myself sometimes. But this is not the idea of one-pointed attention. We can say it's better than reading a newspaper. I remember one time I was in Madras temple before it became Chennai, about 25, 30 years ago. And after the Mangal Arati, there were about 20 devotees in Mangal Arati. We didn't have the big temple then, we were in T. Nagar. And after Mangal Arati, everyone left. There was nobody stayed for the japa. I sat there chanting the japa in the temple. Now I said, oh, there was one devotee stayed. He was chanting behind me. And then after a while, there was silence behind me. So I looked back to see if he was still there or what he was doing, and he was reading a newspaper during japa. His hand in his feedback. It's not a very good thing to do. It will not please Krishna. It will not awaken our remembrance of Krishna. Our hearts will not become purified. We will not get the benefit of hearing. The benefit of hearing is from the right source with the right aptitude or attitude. And that attitude is sincerity, no doubt, but that means with rapt attention, carefully attentive of the subject matter. It's so simple process and so difficult to apply. So many disturbances there in our mind, whatever they may be. And what to do? But the whole process is there to try to help us to realize that. The association of the voice, Satampa Sangha, Memory, Sangvido, Sangha of the voice is the feature, practically speaking, in helping us to focus on Krishna. Association of the voice doesn't mean that we have something to interpret. We may have another form. we come together and help each other to hear and chant. Yes. What's that devotee in was it Rath Yatra yesterday? No, not Vishnu Gada. What's his name? Vishnu Gada. Vishnu Gada Prabhu. Oh,
Vishnu Gada Prabhu.
Vishnu Gada from New York. Very old devotee, 71. And he was telling me, we were sat together taking in the early days in New York, no one was allowed to speak in the temple room. Nobody. If you had anything to speak, you had to go outside the temple room. Outside the temple. It was like that. You would never dream of speaking to someone in the temple room. I mean, you might think, could we go outside we need to say something? There were no mobiles. Half the time you see people on their mobiles, even in the temple room, you see this going on. How can one be we're missing the opportunity, at least like some time every day for this. It may not be possible all day long, obviously. Wherever we are, we've got things to do, especially for grihastas working and so on. You got, I wouldn't say an excuse, you just have other things to do. It's not possible. We have to think we have to look out for the kids and do this and that. But at least put some time aside, preferably in the morning, of course. It's the most, usually, it's just the most peaceful time, most beneficial time for hearing. And with Kartik coming, the month itself is very beneficial. So try to put that side of time to just hear and chant. Choose a nice place, a nice quiet room somewhere with no washing machine in the background, and just try to hear the sound of the holy name, hear the Bhagavatam like that. And this is simple. We don't have to do anything. You just have to hear it. Krishna does everything. It's Krishna who's the purifier, not us. It's not even the process in one sense. It's when the process is coming from Krishna. So it's his siksha, it's not different than him in one sense. So when we associate, and the main thing Prabhupada says in this purport also is the importance of the mercy of the spiritual master. Prabhupada even said one time that my mercy are the instructions I'm giving you. When we embrace those instructions, or as Prabhupada said the other day, capture the holy name. When we embrace those instructions, we're basically, in one sense, we're embracing Krishna by hearing that subject matter. We try to put that time aside. Just give yourself a break. Give ourselves a chance to become Krishna conscious. One pointed attention. Try to hear the Bhagavatam. Try to hear the holy name. And we can say it's magic. Everything's magic because everything's coming from Krishna. That's just the process. It's not like Prabhupada says that, the magic of these so-called avatars or the gurus or something who, with some magic they inject within the heart of the devotee transcendental realization. So it doesn't work like that. It comes. So I'm going to read a little bit here about what Srila Prabhupada, just check the purport out there. Yeah. I'll read what Prabhupada says in his Markandeya Bhagavat Dharma. If you have any questions, put them in the chat, please. Very simple this morning. Kartik is very simple. Keep life simple. Don't make it so complicated. We don't become Krishna conscious simply by reading subject matter, let's say, beyond their eligibility. It's nice to hear all kinds of transcendental pastimes if they help us to remember Krishna, no doubt about that. But ultimately, as Prabhupada writes in the 7th chapter of the 1st canto, the awakening of our dormant affection of Krishna depends wholly and solely upon the mercy of Krishna, not upon our mechanical process of hearing and chanting. And let's see, we'll take up a few verses here. Here. All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will. In other words, Krishna's placed us here. This is, when it says his will, it doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't care less. He just wants you to be in suffering misery. No, because of our desire, we're placed in this situation. But we can't be in this situation without Krishna's will or his, let's say, without him taking action to place us in this situation to fulfill our will. And therefore, if you like, by your will, they can also be released from the clutches of illusion. Everything ultimately depends on the will of the Lord. You know that, not a blade of grass moves. But generally, to get out of this world, we can do whatever we like. But without the will of the Lord, we can't get out. No way. It all depends on his mercy. And that mercy is bestowed on one who gets the mercy of the spiritual master. And to take that mercy, apply it in our lives, and depend on Krishna. The Prabhupada says, I wish they may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. With the understanding of the mercy of the Lord, the previous verse, Prabhupada had said that they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva because they're so absorbed in the material world. So Prabhupada's desire is you please help them. You know, we're so fallen, we're so materialistic in this age. Even you know, most of you are, of course, from Indian backgrounds. It's a much more favorable situation, but still we can appreciate just how entangled we are in various factors of this material world. Yesterday when we were taking lunch, I don't know who it was, one of our godbrothers was saying when he was in India how he was talking to one member of one very pious Indian man from South India, one group there, and he was talking to him and he was explaining, you know, the simple things that we're not this body, you know, we're not like Lord Chaitanya's instruction, Naham Vipo Nachanarapati Napi Vaisham Shudro. We're not Brahmins, we're not Kshatras, not Vaishyas. And this man, simple man, he was following what he thought was the line. He thought, oh, I'm a Brahmin. He was actually identifying with being a Brahmin, born in a Brahmin family like this. He never heard that before, that the soul is kind of, you know, transcendental to all these designations. Quite radical for most people. Oh, we may be born in whatever family, we may have whatever body we've had. But that's another kind of obstacle on the path, a very strong one sometimes, this identification with one's birth, or whether one's born in India or born in America. It doesn't matter. The process is the main thing. To hear from the right source and to apply it in our lives. So Prabhupada really he's praying that may you deliver them. Therefore, you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message. The understanding of the message. It's not just about repeating it. It's not a mechanical process. In the beginning, it may seem like that, but it's an understanding. It's a life. It's a living force. It's a living force. It's the very consciousness of the soul. The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation. And if a sober person repeatedly receives it with submissive oral reception, you will be able to understand your message. This is the secret. And then then Prabhupada quotes from the Bhagavatam, from the first canto, second chapter also, text 17 to 21, famous verses. You can read them, 17 to 21. I'm not going to read them now. How the soul becomes liberated from these various coverings of the modes of nature, and its attraction to Krishna becomes fixed. He will become liberated, and the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear just by this process of carefully, submissively hearing the Bhagavatam. How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I'm very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. So this is the qualification. The qualification for hearing is humility. And here Prabhupada himself, although we know that he is the greatest Acharya, the greatest representative of the Lord, considers himself like this. Most unfortunate, unqualified, and most fallen. The humility of Srila Prabhupada. So these are just some interesting points to reflect upon. Nothing very radical in terms of what you've heard or chanted before. Nothing very, you don't say, oh, what a class. But this is all you need. You don't need anything else, just to hear the topic attentively from a pure devotee of the Lord. Doesn't matter, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ishopanishad, any of these literatures which Srila Prabhupada has given us, his lectures, and associate with devotees who are churning this subject matter. Association is really important. Try to help cultivate nice association, help each other. You know, it's very easy to talk about mundanities and this and that. And there's a place for everything, but try to put aside a good place to hear and chant about Krishna. Okay, well, it's time. I'll finish. There's 5 minutes left if anyone wants to say anything or whatever. There's a lot of things in chat. The secret of knowing Bhagavatam is mentioned. You know, yeah, thanks for putting that up. We mentioned that already. There's some black and whites there. I don't know what this is. Oh, it's just different references devotees are giving. Thank you all very much for that. Any questions? It's good, as Prabhupada said in his purport. What was the word? Was it research or and something in the purport of today's verse? He used a very interesting word. And again, without the book, I won't be able to find it. It's a long purport. And I can't just jump through it. I'm saying that again and again because I'm trying to emphasize the importance of reading the book and not reading from a computer or mobile. It's even materially speaking, psychologists, scientists have studied and they've concluded that the effect of reading the book, of how you absorb the subject matter, is far greater than that from reading electronic appliance. They say up to 6 to 8 times better. There's nothing on the universe can replace hearing from the pure devotee first and then from the book. Especially the book, because when you hear, I know if I ask questions, 99% of what I said, nobody will remember properly. The book must be there. That's the essential feature. Read Prabhupada's books. Yeah. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for simplifying and making concentrated effort for us to focus every day, reading and hearing attentively, one thing at a time, not doing multiple things.
Well, that's what Prabhupada said as well in terms of reading Bhagavatam. Of course, we do get Srila Prabhupada, I mean, when he says don't read haphazardly here and there, he emphasized then hearing from the pure devotee. So sometimes, obviously, you could say we're reading haphazardly here. I was told just choose any verse. It's not like in systematic order. And even if it is, many of you wouldn't have been there for the previous ones. So, but we should make a concerted effort ourselves to read Bhagavatam, as Prabhupada said, from the first verse, the Janananda verse, right to the very end, to the 12th canto, Prabhupada says. Some devotees have this unfortunate, very unfortunate mentality that they only go up to the 10th canto, chapter 13. And maybe some online, I hope that none of you online have that mentality, but that's not what Prabhupada said. We have to hear it right up to the 12th canto. That's the whole purpose of the Bhagavatam. 11th canto, it's like it puts light on the 10th canto. Without light, we just read it and it's nice, but it's not the same. We have to have the philosophical approach, the proper aptitude, the proper approach to the Bhagavatam, the subject matter of the 10th canto. So a lot of people, they just jump straight into the 10th canto, and a lot of people, they just want to hear the lovely pastimes of Krishna, depending on what bhav they're in. Krishna's childhood pastimes or his amorous pastimes or whatever it is, usually one of those two. But they never get the understanding because they're not hearing it properly. Neither from the right source, neither in the right way. Yes, Thank you. Is that the question or a comment or anything? No, that's the question now. Any question?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Hello, Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hi,
A very nice class, and I just got a chance to hear about you and from you, and it's a opportunity I got by Krishna's grace. And I have one quick question, Maharaj. You just said we should not jump onto the 10th canto directly, and we should actually go through the sequence of cantos.
Prabhupada says that, yeah.
Yeah. And the Krishna book is separately written for us.
Thank you so much.
Which is nothing but the 10th canto. How do I take this, Maharaj?
Wonderful. Wonderful. What a wonderful question. And a wonderful subject matter. And I can't say a wonderful answer. If it's bona fide, it's wonderful. If it's not, it's not. How do we take it that Srila Prabhupada? Well, let's look at a little history here. When Srila Prabhupada came to the West, he brought the first canto of Bhagavatam with him, which was published in India, 200 sets of those first canto Bhagavatams. And without a doubt, his mission was to follow his spiritual master's instruction. I don't think I'm wrong there. To spread Krishna consciousness in English language all over the world, especially in the Western world. And he had that realization that meant to introduce the subject matter of Srimad Bhagavatam to the whole world. You could say the heart of the Srimad Bhagavatam subject matter is no doubt the 10th canto, specifically topics concerning Krishna's personal pastimes when he appeared in this world. And that's, you could say, in essence, the whole reason why Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled on the order of Narada Muni to Vyasadeva, to sufficiently clarify. Prabhupada said his mission is to make it clear who is God, to teach you what you've forgotten. People don't know who is God. There's some vague idea. To make it clear who God is. And the 10th canto is certainly, people will totally misunderstand, reject, and deny the whole thing, no doubt. The rest of the cantos are there supposedly to help us to understand. So I don't know what year, 70 maybe, Prabhupada published this Krishna book. Maybe 1970, I think. The Krishna book was published. And one of the things Prabhupada said, he didn't know if he would be able to reach that point. He'd had heart attacks on the boat. He suffered another heart attack in New York in 1967. And he wasn't sure that he would be able to complete the Bhagavatam. And at that point in time, there wasn't much. The movement was very small. Comparatively, money was very short. There was very few. There just wasn't the mechanism to perceive of that happening, although, of course, it's a transcendental vision. But I was looking at it very practically also when he replied was that he wanted to make this available to the world. Even if he didn't finish the rest of the Bhagavatam, he wanted this to be available. So that seems to contradict a little bit what you correctly said just now. We heard to some degree from Srila Prabhupada. It's not exactly haphazard, because Srila Prabhupada it's a summary study of the 10th canto. It's not just the verses. Mostly people just hear the verses. They don't have a commentary. The 10th canto includes Prabhupada's clarification and commentary on the subject matter to make it accessible to persons who have not been, let's say, brought up or haven't grown through the other stages. To make it accessible. The first book I ever got was Krishna book. It was accessible. Prabhupada makes it accessible. He makes it digestible. Otherwise, an ordinary person cannot digest the subject matter unless they're already very advanced in Krishna consciousness. They can't digest it. It's a myth. It's a dream. it's whatever they think it is. A recent story that someone's made up, whatever it may be. But they can't digest it. It doesn't have the actual effect of hearing the topic. Something may be there, but it's going to be a long, long time. So Srila Prabhupada has made this subject matter digestible, even if we haven't read the other cantos, even if we're not very qualified. But if somehow or another one hears it with a submissive heart, even without a submissive heart, Srila Prabhupada's philosophy has brought in there the philosophical understanding of this subject matter. If we just simply hear it, one becomes eligible. But he so much wanted that the world should have this opportunity because nobody understands who is God. Nobody, practically speaking. Even in India, most people have in Prabhupada's own words, a hodgepodge idea. So he wanted to make it very clear. So Krishna book was one of the first books he introduced. He introduced it, first distribution, San Francisco Rath Yatra in 1970, I believe. Prabhupada personally sold, other than one copy sold on the plane by Brahmananda, Prabhupada sold the remainder of all the ones Brahmananda just brought them from Japan. Brahmananda Maharaj, Prabhupada, one of Prabhupada's greatest servants, had bought these books from Japan, and Prabhupada personally distributed the first box of the Rath Yatra with great delight. So we can understand if the pure devotee authorizes something, it is authorized. And he
Thank you,
wanted
Maharaj. Thank you.
everyone. The first book I ever distributed the very next morning after I joined the temple in the evening, the next morning they sent me out distributing Krishna books on door to door in London. I never distributed a book before. I just joined the temple literally morning distributing Krishna big hardbound Krishna books. That's all we had. And it
Very
was
nice memory, Maharaj.
Hare
Very
Krishna.
nice memories, yeah. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Pure devotees can do anything. Prabhupada's put the whole Bhagavatam in that book in one sense. Okay, well, it's getting late. It's 7 after 9, and life has to go on. And if you have any other questions, if you come to the temple tonight, you might want to ask them. I don't know. Hare Krishna. We'll see some of you, if not all of you, this evening, I hope, at the temple. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Mention a little bit more about Kartik tonight. No worries. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Thank you so much. Please accept a humble obeisance. Hare Krishna.
Thanks to everyone. Jai Prabhupada. Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
As Maharaj said, please join today evening for Sunday Feast class. So Maharaj will be giving class 6:30 to 7:30. 5:30 onward program will start with Tulsidas Prabhupada Aarti. October 2nd is the Vijayadashmi Ramachandra Vijayotsav. Thursday, October 3rd, Friday is Ekadasi. Then 6th onwards is the Kartik, starting Damodar month. Urjavata, fasting from Vruddal. So, yeah. Thank you very much for your association. October 4th, Saturday evening, we will have His Grace Devakinandan Prabhu is giving Ram Katha in the evening. Those are the quick announcements. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare. We'll conclude today.
Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe.